Hello, my friends. It's your friend Kevin with another off-the-chain chit-chat about nothing in particular and a little reading from our cards to see what today brings. I found something in a journal as I was doing my dreams and hopes for today, and it is this little, I guess, affirmation. I am a noble person doing world-class work and fulfilling a mighty purpose through the eyes of love. Now, many of you know over the past year, maybe year and a half, I've been doing these studies, thinking more about angels, connecting with them, spirit world, opening more of myself to something greater than doing what I do and I've done and I keep doing. I wanted something bigger out of my life. But this word noble and the idea that I am a noble person didn't quite sit right. So this morning I looked up, well, am I a humble person or a noble person? And what is the difference? And you know, there's this bigger idea that humility is less than, it is being humble, it is, coming to the basis of everything. And to be noble is to be great and to do great things and to be perceived as great. And it's quite interesting that I came to the conclusion that, outwardly, we would really prefer to be seen as noble. And inwardly, we really need to work on being humble. It's quite a battle of wills. I was reading for the second time Thinking Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. And he tells a story about how he went into the monastery for the first time, and choosing to become a monk is the practice of leaving and letting go of all material possessions and studying what it's like to be one as a monk, serving the world with little or no possessions other than the eyes of joy and peace and stillness and great understanding, in the way that it seems the great creator, whether you call them God, put Jesus on the earth to show mankind how to treat the earth, treat one another with that stillness, that kindness, that peace and that love. And indeed, if you read scriptures and you keep up with stories from the Bible, even from the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Song of God, even from the Torah, even from any of those scriptures, if you will, in different languages, different religions, from different regions of the world, even as far back as Egypt, there are stories of this pledge, this decision to give up the material and go into the more humble beginnings, if you will, like a monk. Anyway, he was describing how he met with his teacher, guru. He calls him Gadangadas. And everywhere in this monastery was very clean and kept tidy and looked great. And then there was this one space, one storage room that was filled with just stuff, junk. And he claims that it was all dusty and dank and there were hanging cobwebs and everything. And this leader, his teacher, told him to look across the room into a mirror. In monasteries, there aren't mirrors because vanity is not something that they, at least in Buddhist monasteries, I don't know about other monasteries, but he looked across the room and there was this one mirror covered in dust. And the teacher said, "What do you see?" Well, he couldn't see anything. He couldn't see his reflection because of the dust and the dirt. So the leader wiped off the glass, the mirror, with his sleeve, blowing dust and God knows what into the face of this young monk, Mr. Shetty, and said, what do you see? And of course, in this this clean, he saw his own reflection. The point I'm making is that when we're in this journey of our life, there will be moments, sometimes they can be what I would consider the dark night of the soul, where we see ourselves for who we truly are. Usually when there is nobody else around, when no one else is about, when we are at a point where there's got to be a decision that's made, or we find ourselves where we're looking for God to say, help me, I want this. Those moments of great humility, we've all had them, where you come to yourself. Some may even call it a coming to Jesus moment. It's when all of the outward masks that we wear as people fall away, all the ideals that we ever had about ourselves in this life disappear, and we're left we're left vulnerable, weak, humble. You can add on all sorts of different words to say what that feels like, since we've had those feelings. And in those moments, we are met with the shadows. We're met with our shadow selves. The idea that, this is what we've been presenting. This is how we've been behaving. This is how we've been showing ourselves to the world. All those things. And there are some folks who are so lost in the ideal, persona, whatever you want to call that, personality of who they have become through what they have gone out and gotten. They really truly do not know who they are at the bottom of it all. The front of my journal here, the Hopes and Dreams journal, says, stay true to yourself. People respond to authenticity. It's quite interesting that in this book, in other books, I'm reading another one that's written by a vet, a British vet, who had a very similar dark night of the soul moment where he got some really quite strange or devastating news that was brought him to his knees. And speaking, whatever happened, he was presented with the idea of who people thought he was, and it was not who he was at all. So there's this idea, and I'm getting to it. There's the authenticity of who you are, that you know yourself to be, and who you present yourself to other people as. Well, isn't it the same person? Oh, no. Most of my life, I did and behaved in ways that I thought other people wanted me to be. So my impression of myself was sort of wrapped up in this idea that I need to be what I think you think I am. I've got to be what I think you think I am. And this is, all that got unraveled when I went through my yoga teacher training, because that's, in a way, part of that was called the Sannyas Journey, the stripping away of who you are. You've got to get to who you are. You have to get to the sense of your roots before you can ask other people to do it. Before there's a transformation, there has to be an affirmation. You've got to affirm what you're about. And for lots and lots and lots of people who have layered up these blankets of bull hockey, that's difficult to do. Peeling back the emotional things that have happened. When something happens we can't deal with, We cover it up like cats do. There's a layer that goes over the top. We've done it. We're good at it. We're really, really good at it. We've done it since we were little. We galvanize it. And we get to the point where we've done it so much so that we get used to doing it. We get used to it. It's quite insidious. And the journey to undoing it is constant. Except when you, or at least when I, realized, oh, this is doing it again. The awareness cuts the ties. And even though, I've talked about, and my teachers have talked about, using Archangel Michael to cut the ties that bind you to people, places, situations, stories, drama, nonsense, that anything that gets in the way of your purpose. That also means cutting the ties that bind to the idea of what we were. And that requires some pretty tough practice. That is what you don't need anymore. And this is what, I've come to talk about today, is giving up what you don't need, giving up what you don't want, giving up what doesn't work for you, what isn't serving you. And that includes people. When most of us come here, I believe, when we're born into a world of love, into a world that cares about us, sees us, wants us, desires us. But then we have to learn the way of living in this world, living with the cultures that we're around, to go against, to push against, to shove against culture, to shove against tradition, to shove against family values, to push against all those values, to seek our own way, which is really what happens between 12 and 20. Those years of, the body's not a child anymore. The mind isn't a child anymore. Things are happening. And then we've still got these folks telling us how to do it, what to do. There is our own way. There is our own way. I mean, yes, I think parents are somewhat worried about their teenagers when they act out and they become rebellious. From the parent, they see a little baby that just came into the world. From the child, they don't even know who that person was because they've got things to do and places to go. And it's a really kind of tough place. You push too hard and you push them away. You smother too much and you push them away. That's tough. That's really tough. I don't know what the answer is to that. I'm not a parent, so I'm not about to parent people. But I am a person, and it's taken me all these nearly 60 years to work all this stuff out. So as I go through this, what started as the difference between being humble and being noble, we have to be both. We have to really be both those things. We've got to accept the humility of things that weren't quite right, didn't go right. This is where practicing forgiveness, but has to start with yourself. Forgiving yourself for all the things you believed about yourself that wasn't true. And I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and there's some really good spiritual counselors out there that, have your back. Then there's some ones that keep that story going. That's also on us. The story can get so, almost inebriating. You can keep telling that story, and it's a good story, and then that story becomes a story. And the next thing you know, those stories have got legs, and you're another character in that story with legs running all over the place. I digress. The point I'm making about this is to be humble and noble at the same time is the challenge. It's a challenge, I think, that pays off in the end. When does nobility take over and humility leave? They don't. They are actually really good partners. Humble is remembering that we are here temporarily to do amazing things, to do great things. Nobility is understanding what that greatness is. Nobility is standing up for yourself when you know that, I can use my strengths, I can use my abilities, I can use what I've learned, I can use what I can do to be the greater part of me. all of that togetherness happens on the inside of everyone. My point in that statement is, I watch and I've done it. Folks, friends, people all over the place look outside the self for the things that make them happy, for the things that bring them joy, for the people they want to put into their lives, for the wanting to be kissed, for the wanting to be loved, for the wanting to be seen, for the wanting to have this partner looking out there, out there, out there. For me, it was anything from everything and anything. Instead of dealing with, it's in here. It's always been in here. It's never been out there. And the road and the experience of life is to bring us all that out there stuff. To bring us all of those things, to show us that we didn't need this after all. It was all inside. I can now have just as much joy, this is going to sound a bit weird, caring for the dogs when they come in from the rain, soaking wet and stinking, putting mud all over the floor. I've shown pictures of that where I just washed the kitchen floor and here comes Dudley James covered in mud, splashed everywhere. It was his joy. He's out there having joy in muddy clay and saying, look, thank you for cleaning the floor. I'm going to mess it up again so you can do some more work. That's joy for me. That's greatness for me. Other people might find joy in, doing things for others, singing, walking, something that lifts you, lightens up the load, lightens up your mood, lightens up where you're going. It isn't in things. Yes, materialism is the world we live in. Yes, we are going to want that phone that doesn't have buttons on it. Yes, there is that need because marketing drives it down there. That big, huge thing, it's what makes great companies great companies. The stuff works. Technology is here to stay, people. It's the decision of how does the technology and the traditional way of doing things go hand in hand in harmony, the humility and the nobility. All right, I think I've confused you enough. Go within and you won't go without. Simple. Should have said that at the beginning instead of this long 17-minute chit-chat about humility and nobility. Let's get on with the reading. Great Mother of the earth, good Father of the sky, angels, ancestors, thank you for revealing to me what I need to know. Thank you for leading all of us where we need to go. And thank you for bringing us a message of hope for the day. I think today is a one-card message. Let's see. And I'm just going to split this in three, put it back together, and take one card straight off the top. Oh, this is quite something. Now, I don't believe that inverted cards, upside down cards mean anything other than to pay attention. When something seems not the right side up, then it's asking for us to look at it. You think about somebody who's got their sweater on back to front. You pay attention to it. So here we have the Hermit. And how interesting is this that I should be talking about going inward to find what it is about you, the authenticity about you. And this Hermit card is introspection, self-discovery, and mentorship. That there is the great teacher within all of us. And I would say the message here for you and I and all of mankind is, as we are now emerging into a new world, a new way of being, and watching as an observer the behaviors of others, it is important to be aware of our own behaviors. Where can we clean up, tidy up, remove anything that feels out of place without getting tangled up in the being sorry for, regrets, because that's typical behavior, or being tangled up in this idea that if you do something that you feel is right within yourself, someone else may not like that. That's again people pleasing, and that's again what other people think you are, think you do, or anticipating that conversation. So the Hermit is, to me, a bit like God, the angel Gabriel, your guardian angel, coming to say, we're with you, we've got you, and we've brought you this message so that you can sit quietly, read your book, turn off the clatter chatter that's going on in your mind, and have more of an introspective conversation. Now, what I love about Bradley Valentine, which is his cards, guardian angel messages, is he's just so simple and descriptive with these guides. What he says in the guidebook is, the hermit loves helping, but also knows the power of having a human guide. So the hermit is basically saying, let spirit help establish the perfect spiritual mentoring relationship for you. Rewarding time spent in solitude, self-discovery, excellent advice that you should follow. Taking a break from your hectic life. Ask your guardian angels for someone who can provide you with wise counsel and loving guidance, and you will discover a wonderful mentor or spiritual teacher. Or perhaps it is time for you to step into the open as a teacher with many spiritual gifts. Do not underestimate the brightness of the light you have to offer others. If you are currently on a quest for peace and enlightenment, do your seeking within. Meditation or time spent in nature can provide great insight. Now, here we say quickly about meditation before I drop this off. It's not easy, and there are a great many people who think they've got it licked. No, meditation is not something that you get destination for. Meditation starts with breath work. Once you have the breath work, then you can get into the work of oming, chanting. The breath has to start, because if you just blindly om or chant, sat nam, sat nam, sat nam, that's another chant. Without the right breath work, those chants sound off. The voice, the breath is not, it's an instrument, it's not quite there yet. If you've ever listened to some of the Benedictine monks who have created incredible recordings of the chanting, it's hypnotic, but they've also done a great deal of breath work. Anyway, I think that's a good message for you. Let me know in your comments. Let me know what you'd like to know more of. And until next time, lots of love and much gratitude to all of you. Bye.